Hey, Yinz guys and gals, gather round for a journey like no other. It's time to hop on board the Where Yinz Goin podcast, proudly brought to you by Dreams by Design Travel. From the rivers that meet at the point to form downtown Pittsburgh to the furthest corners of the globe, that'll be your compass, your confidant, your companion in that as we explore the wonders of travel. Kick back, relax on your couch, and let the wanderlust wash over Yinz as we discover new horizons and reminisce about old favorites. With Dreams by Design Travel by our side, the sky's the limit. Join Matt on the Where Yinz Goin podcast because when it comes to travel, the journey's just getting started. And now, without further ado, let's give a shout for your guide through the highways and byways of travel, the man with a map, the voice of the steel city, Matt Trader.
How Yinz doing? Welcome to Where Yinz Goin, brought to you by Dreams by Design Travel. I'm Matt. I'm your host. Today, I'm joined once again by Justin, who is a travel advisor with Dreams by Design Travel. Justin, welcome.
Thank you.
And this morning, we're also joined by Dewey. He's not a travel advisor, but he has a very particular set of skills that he's acquired over a very long career. Oh, wait, no, that's something a little bit different. Okay. No, Dewey does have a special background. So, since this is the episode's going to be airing on May the 3rd, that makes tomorrow May the 4th. So, may the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you. It's Star Wars Day. In honor of that, our topic today is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And we're also going to talk about Star Tours. The adventures continue since they're both the Star Wars-based attractions and lands at Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Like Justin and I, Dewey is in the 501st and the Rebel Legion, so we're obviously big Star Wars fans. So there's one of Dewey's bona fides, if you want to say that. Also, Dewey's father-in-law is a cast member who works on Expedition Everest, the Legend of the Forbidden Mountain at Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park in Walt Disney World. And Dewey is going to be a future cast member at Walt Disney World. What's the countdown down to now?
We're at 1 year, 2 months, and about 25 days.
Not that he's counting, so.
No, not that I'm counting.
No. Dewey is also one of the hosts of the WDW Reflections podcast that talks about their memories of Walt Disney World growing up. So welcome, Dewey.
Hey, Matt. Nice to be here. I appreciate the invite. Makes me feel all kind of special and such, like people actually want to hear what I have to say. And it's probably not true, but that's how I'm going to feel.
That's what I feel too whenever I also teach. And whenever I talk to my students and then they just don't listen to me, I know that feeling.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Dewey.
I feel that as well. It's funny because when you teach, you've got probably about 25-30% that are really into it and they're digging it. You got 25 or 30% that could, take it or leave it. And then you got, and also I'm not a math teacher, so I'm not sure if this adds up. And then the other 25 or 30% is completely indifferent. Like if you fell down and died on the carpet, they probably wouldn't notice. So that's exactly what teaching is.
You were close on the numbers. If we had 30% for each, 33.
They don't let me teach math.
The other thing about people listening to you, we were talking just before we started about coaching different sports, and I coach T-ball. So a bunch of 3 and 4-year-olds running around, they just completely do not listen to me. So if I ever get a big head, I just have to realize how many people do not care what I say.
Yeah.
So starting off each episode, I like to ask my guests this question. So where's your favorite place that you have ever visited? Or is there a place that you would like to visit the most? So Justin, last time you were on, with the last episode, you talked about going to Japan. Is there another place in mind that you'd like to discuss?
Probably besides the parks for me would be the Outer Banks. I grew up going there, Nags Head, South Nags Head area primarily, and it's just beautiful down there. A lot of private beach, so you're seeing very few people, but there's still a lot of stuff to do. So it's a great little area to go.
I've been to a lot of the beaches along the eastern uh, shore. Ocean City, Maryland, Virginia Beach, Myrtle Beach, a couple places up in New Jersey. Never been down to the Outer Banks, so that's a place I got to get to.
Definitely. It's a little bit longer drive for our area, but um it's worth it, worth the trip.
Dewey, what about you?
So I'm retired Air Force, so I had a lot of opportunities to travel while I was active duty. So probably my favorite place that I've been would be Germany. I just absolutely fell in love with. I spent 4 months in Germany and got to experience a lot of the culture and spend time with the people. Absolutely loved Germany. Uh, I saw Paris. I spent 2 weekends in Paris and loved it. But one thing that I did not get to do while I was in Europe, and one thing that is probably number one on my to-do list, is to visit Normandy. I want to go visit all the D-Day sites in Normandy, France. So that is probably number one on my list, is to do that.
Well, I know a guy who can help you plan that trip whenever you're ready to do that. So.
Hey, shoot me an email or something.
And where in Germany were you, if you don't mind sharing?
No, not at all. I was at Ramstein Air Base, which is not too far away from, I guess, the biggest town or whatever that's famous around there is Kaiserslautern. So Landstuhl, Kaiserslautern is right there in that area, and that's where I was at Ramstein Air Base.
So what area of the country is that? Because whenever we were in college, my now brother-in-law, whenever he first started dating my sister, he was international business as his major. So he went to Germany to study for 6 months. And it just so happened it was like right after him and my sister started dating. So after a few months, my sister comes to me and says, "How would you like to go to Germany?" I was like, "That'd be cool someday." It's like, "How about this May?"
Oh,
So
wow.
I was forced to go to Europe on a vacation, whenever I was in college, because my parents wouldn't let my sister go without me. And if I didn't go, my sister would have killed me. So,
Did you say
so
forced to go to Germany? Like
I
that
had to,
bad?
things I do for my sister.
Wow, that's love. You should
So,
be commended.
so he was in a real small town, Paderborn. It's southwestern Germany. We flew into Frankfurt and took the train there. I got to go spend a week in Germany, going to a few different places, and then took the train through Belgium into Paris and got to spend a few days there.
So
So
you were pretty close. Frankfurt is where we flew into, and we were probably no, it was 2005 when I went. So I'm old and forget things. So gosh, that was 20 years ago. Oh my gosh, let's not even talk about that. But so we hopped on a bus after landing in Frankfurt, and it was about an hour and a half or so to get to Ramstein by bus. So not too far away from Frankfurt.
yeah, and I was there in 1999, so that
Yeah,
even
but you
longer
were in
ago.
high school, or didn't you say you were in high school?
It was college.
Oh, okay, college. Yeah,
Yeah, it was at the end of my freshman year of college. So
time flies, fellas.
yeah. So now that we're old men rambling on about things of the past,
Yeah, get off my grass.
back on track. So as I mentioned, today's episode is all about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Star Tours: The Adventures Continue. So both of those can be found at uh, Disney's Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World Resort in Florida and in Disneyland Park in Disneyland Resort out in California. So we're going to start with Galaxy's Edge. So it opened in 2019 in both places. It was the end of May, May 31st to be exact, in Disneyland, and it was August 28th, 2019 in Walt Disney World. So perfect timing on opening those parks right before the world shut down. Both those areas of the park at least. So I want to go through a couple different things with those areas. So the first thing is, what is your general impression when you enter and walk around? I mean, Justin, what did you think whenever you first walked in and saw it?
Well, my experience was sort of unique. My wife was very kind to me. We had a son that was 4 months old at that point in time, and I was actually fortunate enough to be there for opening day. And
Wow.
got to deal with the crowds. We we found out that you could actually hang out by the underpass back by Boardwalk was the closest that they would allow us on property to the resort. Like we had to be off of park property and on resort property to be able to do that. But was able to go in and be there with the first crowds. Um, and it was amazing. It really felt like when you went through um, the tunnel that you just stepped into another universe and seeing everything there, even with all the crowd, like you felt like you were at a different place.
Yeah, Dewey, you had a pretty unique experience with it too, correct?
So my first time was pretty special because, as Matt mentioned earlier, my father-in-law is a cast member. So I got to go to the Walt Disney World version of Galaxy's Edge during the cast member preview. So the way that works is, and cast members have what they call the hub, and it's a place online where they can, get all their information and all that kind of good stuff. And in the hub, it says it gives you the dates and you can sign up. And so it's a limited number that you have to go during a certain window. So I had a 4 hour window to go see it before it opened to the public. And that was Rise of the Resistance hadn't opened yet. It wasn't ready. Remember, it opened a while later. Can't remember exactly how long, but so everything else was open, and we could you couldn't do both the Zavi's and Olga's. You had to choose one of those. So we chose Olga's Cantina, and we were able to do Smuggler's Run. And then we could spend as much time as we wanted those 4 hours just wandering around, and it was relatively, I wouldn't say it wasn't crowded, but it wasn't slammed either. So it was manageable. Let's say that it was manageable. So most of my time was walking around and just, jaw, halfway down my chest, just wide open, just like, oh my gosh, I'm in Star Wars. It was just awe. As a kid, you always dreamed that you would be able to do something like that, because I'd been to Disney World, and they could do attractions. You could go into a attraction and feel like you were there, like Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff. But you always had the sense, or at least the dream, that they would do something bigger, more than just an attraction, where you could actually walk in and be surrounded by it. And that's what they did with Galaxy's Edge. And that was my first impression. I was like, oh my gosh, they did it. It was just awesome. Just awesome.
So, Dewey, the one thing, and Justin too, if you could just, be a little more enthusiastic about this. I mean, pretend
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
it's no. My thoughts are exactly that. I've seen people who aren't even so Star Wars fans. You have that feeling of, oh my God, I am in the movies. It is just like you are there. But I've seen people who are not big Star Wars fans. My wife, she's in the 501st Rebel Legion, but she's not a huge Star Wars fan. All she does it mainly just is something to do, and she likes to dress up, and she's like, I look really good in this, so I want to wear it, type thing. But even her reaction was, wow, they really did a whole lot of stuff here to make it feel like you're in the movies. Um, Specifically, the thing that I thought was really really neat were some of the fighters that they have. So like there's a Resistance X-wing fighter, the A-wing. Um, there's the X-34 land speeder, which is Luke's land speeder from A New Hope that they have in a little garage. I'm not sure what the other land speeder in there is, though. I'm not sure if anyone knows which one sits next to it. Yeah, I don't know if it's just a generic thing or not. Um, they have there's a Thai ES assault shuttle or a Thai echelon that they have there from the First Order, and of course the most popular and famous uh, hunk of junk in the galaxy. They have the Millennium Falcon, a full size replica, which that is, you talk about having the dream of being there or whatever. Ever since seeing the movies and as a little kid having the toys, um, just being able to see that thing in real life has been a dream of mine. Of oh my god, that ship is just so cool, and it sits in a little corner of the land there, and you walk through an archway one way to see it, or another way you come like either around over like a little you go up on like a little platform. So you come down the steps up where one of the restaurants, well, two of the restaurants are, and you just come over to the top of that, and it just sits there right there in front of you.
Look, they've been doing this a long time. Disneyland was built in 55, so they know what they're doing with these theme parks. And it was obvious that it was on purpose that when you walk into Galaxy's Edge, there's twists and turns. You can't see the Falcon. And I mean, there is a deliberate reveal, and you walk around that corner, and it's I mean, look, I have chill bumps right now talking about seeing the Millennium Falcon. That's so silly, but that is the physical and emotional reaction that I had when I saw it the first time. I was like, I can't believe the Millennium Falcon is right here in front of me. It was just unbelievable. And it's as 7-year-old Dewey that woke up on Christmas morning and got Ewok Village for Christmas, or what for 1 year, and thinking about that someday I was going to be standing in front of a quote unquote real Millennium Falcon. Just unbelievable. I mean, just they knocked it out of the park with that too. Just the reveal of the Falcon sitting there. I know for that first time I was there at Galaxy's Edge, I bet you I stood there in front of the Falcon at least half hour, 40 minutes. And I took pictures of it from every angle that I could get. I mean, I was up underneath it taking pictures. It's just, I probably look like a crazy person, but it was just unreal that it was there and you could experience the actual Millennium Falcon. So cool.
Well, as we're sitting here taping, the Falcon is Dewey's background, as a matter of fact, too. So I'm not sure if this will eventually make it to YouTube. We'll put some pictures in because, like Dewey, I take pictures of the Millennium Falcon from every angle, every time I'm there. And of course, you got to do some during the daylight and some at nighttime. So I have a good number of them and a lot of video too. And just looking at the details of, oh, look, there's the dorsal laser cannons that they have, and oh, here's the ramp that's down, and oh, look at the landing pods that it sits on, and every detail you just look at.
Yeah,
it's also the good Justin, go ahead.
They've done a lot of very small details that you don't even need for the basics of the Falcon. Like they have the hidden Batwing, or not Batwing, Batmobile on that as well, just like they had in the movies. So a lot of little things that Easter eggs that were put into the movies that they actually still kept on that.
And they have it, in Galaxy's Edge. It's Black Spire Outpost. It's set on the planet of Batu. And quick side note here is that it's Batu is Batuu. That the Indonesian word of Batu, Batu, means rock, and the planet of Batu is a very rocky environment. So, whoever came up with that name really did their research on that. But the Millennium Falcon, the radar dish, it's the rectangular one, not the circular one. So it's from, the later films, the sequels, and even the X-Wing it's one of the Resistance X-Wings rather than the original trilogy X-Wings. So, anyone, okay, we're going to real deep dive into nerdy Star Wars stuff here. The difference between the two, have you either of you noticed, Dewey or Justin?
I'm going to refrain from being grumpy on your podcast the way I am always grumpy on my podcast. But that is, if I had a complaint about Galaxy's Edge, is, and I think I've said this on my, I know I've said this on my show, they shouldn't have locked themselves into that time frame, into that window. If I were, Bob Iger, I would be younger and more handsome. But besides that,
and richer.
well, no, he's got more money for sure. But I wouldn't have locked it into one time frame. Galaxy's Edge would be a one-stop shop for all things Star Wars. You could meet Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader and Boba Fett over here, and you could meet Kylo Ren over there. It wouldn't be, I get they're trying to make it a story, and that's great, but at a certain point, you got to realize, man, some people want to see old trilogy guys, and some people want to see whatever. So I wouldn't be so much locked into telling that story about what Batu is. It's this place on the outer realm, yada, yada, yada. That's great. I would make it just for the fans, for the guests that come to Galaxy's Edge and want to see Star Wars. That's what I would do. So, and I wouldn't care that, oh, wait, the Millennium Falcon has a circle satellite dish on the top, so that means it's original trilogy. Why do we have Poe Dameron's X-Wing over here? No, get out of that. You can have it all. Have it all. I don't care about time. Have it all so everybody can experience their favorite Star Wars. That's my only complaint. Other than that, Galaxy's Edge is perfect.
You make a valid point there, Dewey, that especially with all the content that Disney's coming out with for Star Wars, is that whenever they, the Ahsoka stuff or, the Mandalorian, it's not necessarily as far in advance as where you are with the First Order. So being able to just incorporate more characters into it, again, like you said, to see your favorites.
Yes.
And, us old guys here, we're all in our 40s growing up with the original trilogy. There's something iconic about seeing an original trilogy stormtrooper walking around or seeing Darth Vader make an appearance that, they have that over with, well, at least they had it with the Jedi Academy, right by Star Tours.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing that here would be something pretty neat.
Absolutely. And I'm not really making a complaint. I'm just saying that I think they could make it better if they did that. Just let go of the story and give the people what they want. Give the people what they want. Let them. I mean, if you want to see the Bad Batch characters, then throw them in the corner. I don't care. It's not going to ruin my experience, but like that you're out of the timeline or whatever. Just let people see what they want to see. I don't know.
Yeah, I was sort of hoping, because they have that little Star Wars area off to the shoot, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Off to the right as you're headed down on the hub. Where they
Star Wars Launch Bay.
Yes, Launch Bay.
Uh-huh.
I was sort of hoping maybe they would do a little more with that for some of the things that were out of the timeline. Bring some more of the characters in that we maybe had seen before, like during Star Wars weekends, and take advantage of those costumes they have and props and things like that. That even if they wanted to keep the timeline over there, that you still have, for those big Star Wars fans, they're doing that potentially once in a lifetime trip for them, be able to see so much more of that.
That's not a bad idea. And there's plenty of room there. All that room
Absolutely.
back there is, used to be part of the backlot tour and everything. And there's so much unused space back there. They could definitely do something like that. I would be okay with that. Justin, good idea.
We're sending it up to higher management, see what they say, right?
Yes.
So, but my geeky thing about the Resistance X-Wings is for the original ones, so Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, he has 4 individual little engines For the resistance ones, it's like two big ones that then split in half to make four. So that's a neat little tidbit if you ever notice the little details on it. First time I saw the new movie, it's like something's off. And it took me a while to realize what it was. So um, I'm going to jump ahead out of order from what we had for our plan, but we talked about seeing characters walk around, and that is one of the neat things that you can see um, in Galaxy's Edge. Uh, First Order stormtroopers, Kylo Ren, Rey, Chewbacca, Din Djarin, and Grogu, also known as the Mandalorian, and Baby Yoda for the others. The stormtroopers, they're very, very entertaining to see walk around because they will do an actual patrol, and sometimes they will interrogate citizens of the First Order as they're just walking around, and they'll question people, especially depending on what shirts they're wearing. I've heard stories of people where they'll have a shirt with the rebel insignia on it, and then the stormtroopers will pick them out specifically and for questioning. Or I've had the ones who had a imperial themed shirt. So Dewey would be a favorite of them today because he's wearing his dark side shirt with he has Darth Vader and Stormtrooper on at least. That's as much as I can see. Then the Biker Scout and Boba Fett. So I have my Pathfinder's shirt on. So
I bought this shirt because I have a Jeep. I have a 2002 Jeep Wrangler, and I actually named it Dark Side. So,
are there any of the characters that you see that stand out to you whenever you're walking around?
well, I'll go back to my previous statement. So I must have yelled loud enough because Disney heard me a little bit because having Mando in Galaxy's Edge does pull them out of that timeline a little bit. So Mando, all of that storyline is happening about 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. So the fact that he's there when we know that the First Order and all that stuff is like 30 years after Return of the Jedi. So he doesn't belong in that Batu storyline. So that it gives me hope that they're going to start opening it up to more kind of out of that timeline, telling, instead of focusing on telling that story, maybe they're going to kind of do what I hope they do and just make it a true just Star Wars land, and just do all those kinds of things. I haven't seen him there yet. I was there last time I went was let's see, June of 23, so almost a year ago now. And I saw Kylo and I saw the stormtroopers. They're the only ones I saw around Galaxy's Edge. I didn't see Mando there.
I don't believe he's in Florida. I think he's only in California.
Oh, that's right. I think you're right.
So, we saw him out in California January, let's see, December 2022, I believe. So the last time we were out there.
And they've added a few additional ones recently to the parks. They have Ahsoka now, sometimes Hera and Fennec Shand. And
That's
then
cool.
also I just saw videos that they're testing recently. What's the little droid from the most recent Star Wars video games that he has strapped to his back?
I don't know the name of the droid either, but
Yeah.
I saw a video of them testing. I think it was that little droid that's also in episode 9. Got the
Yeah,
little
I think
rectangular head and the oddly shaped legs or whatever. I saw that too. They look pretty cool.
Yeah, the interactions that they were having with the guests there during their little test run and stuff looked like a lot of fun. The cast member was really cool. That definitely seemed they were very into it, and makes it better for everyone when they are. So looking forward to hopefully seeing those down at Disney World the next time I go.
I saw a video of or maybe just some pictures of Hera there, and that's a really well done character. There, that was I was pretty excited when I saw that too.
My little girl was not too happy to see the Wookiees, though. She one walked right by us, and she kind of panicked. It scared her. So, of course, she's barely 3.5. Well, she was 42 inches last time we were there, so 3.5 feet. She just was tall enough to get on Cosmic Rewind. There's like a couple hairs on her head that was hitting the thing. Like, all right, you're tall enough. So we
So
got on.
your 4-year-old daughter rode Cosmic Rewind?
Yeah.
I can't get my 21-year-old son to ride it. So I don't know what that says about your son and my daughter, but that's awesome that your daughter rode it.
Yeah, she liked it. Some of the other roller coasters that while we were on it, she was like, I don't like this, but that and Slinky Dog Dash, especially Slinky Dog Dash, she had a wonderful time on that.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, that was one of her favorites. She's like, can we go again? It's like, well, the wait's an hour and a half, so it's not gonna last.
Your excitement will wane while we're in that hour and a half line.
He's not, you don't necessarily meet this one character out in the open, but you can see a pretty unique character. It's by the restrooms in Galaxy's Edge, or as they call them, the refreshers, right by one of the water fountains. There's like 2 water tanks behind the water fountain, and if you sit and just wait for a bit, you get to see the Dianoga. So in the original Star Wars A New Hope, whenever they go down the garbage chute, that snake-like or eel-like monster, whatever, that is the eyeball that pokes up, is a Dianoga. And so you can see him in the water tank, which I thought that was just a great touch that they added to it.
So I'm on the fence about this one because and I'm joking, but it was really, really super cool that it's there because it pops up and moves around just like it does when it's looking for Luke in the trash compactor. But if you stop and think for just a second that where that guy is located is in the water tank for the water fountain that I just dispensed into my bottle. So I'm not sure I like that thing living in the water tank that I'm about to drink. So try not to get too wrapped up in that because it's a really great effect.
Well, I think their initial purpose is to, get rid of the unwanted garbage and stuff. So he's actually there to purify the water.
Oh, he's like a catfish. He's eating all the bottom dwelling stuff that we don't want in our water. That's what you're going with?
My story, I'm sticking to it. Exactly.
Yeah. He's a filter.
So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about the general environment or any of the characters before we move on to some of the attractions?
The only thing I don't want to necessarily talk about it, but what I want to tell your listeners is just take some time. Don't just run in there and run as fast as you can to get on Rise of the Resistance or whatever. Spend some time looking around because there is detail at every corner. Every time you turn around, there is detail somewhere that, a little Easter egg or a tidbit or something that everything just looks Star Wars. It has that look, but I know Disney's expensive and sometimes you feel pressured to get everything done, but just take a little bit of time in Galaxy's Edge to appreciate the details because they've really outdone themselves. And you will do yourself a disservice if you just run straight to the attractions and get in line and then go run to Toy Story Land. Spend some time there and just look around because it's really well done.
Now, if you get there at rope drop, then I do fully support don't run, but speed walk to the attraction to get in line as fast as you can. Then spend your time to enjoy the atmosphere and also come back later in the day. Seeing it at night is outstanding. It's a different place, and with the lighting effects, it's just so neat. You can't see as many details, but the environment and the feel of it, it's different.
It's almost a little creepy. Certain spots can seem creepy, and even isolated at night. There's just little sections, little corners where I looked around and it was me and I was with my brother-in-law. We were the only two there. I was looking around, and just in that section, you felt like, wow, it just felt like you ever been to a city and you go like walk into the bus station or something and it's creepy and it's nighttime and you're worried something's going to jump out of the darkness? That's how it feels in certain places in Galaxy's Edge. You almost feel like a scary alien is going to pop out or something. They have really neat little I don't know what you would call it, corners or something where you can feel like you're the only one there. I mean, really is really well done.
Little alcoves, I guess, if you want to think of that.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. That's what I was looking for.
And actually, it's funny you mentioned this, that on the last episode, that was one of the things that Justin and I talked about is don't feel pressure to run and get in line to actually enjoy some of the other atmospheric things in Disney, of whether it's a stage show or it's the band walking by or it's the Dapper Dan singing or something. Enjoy those other little things. As long as if you are enjoying yourself, you're getting your money's worth. Enjoying yourself does not mean necessarily being in line or on one of the attractions.
100%. I agree with that 100%.
So, but speaking of getting on attractions, let's talk about those. So the first one is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Is probably the most popular attraction now in Walt Disney World, at least based on the wait times. So, so besides doing being a travel advisor, I also teach math at WVU, West Virginia University. And so one of my students who did her senior capstone paper, she's a huge Disney fan. She looked at the wait times throughout the day at Hollywood Studios and did graphed the wait times and how they change over the day. And is there a relationship between any two rides? If this one's high, this one's also high, or this one's high, this one's low. One of the things she found out, though, is that towards the end of the day, especially in Galaxy's Edge, is that the wait times will reduce a bit and they will drop down. So if you can't get there early in the day, if you come back later at night, because most people are starting to leave and they're funneling towards the front of the park, as Dewey was saying, you can feel kind of empty back there. That going back, now it's not going to be like a 5-minute wait, but it can maybe only be an hour instead of 2 hours. So, but Rise of the Resistance, what were your impressions of it?
I mean, I think the wait times and the popularity is well deserved. For me, hands down, it's the best ride of the park, and that's even without being like a Star Wars fan. That just the level of detail, the story that's told during the course of the queue and everything else, all the elements, which makes it a very complex ride, which unfortunately leads to sometimes breakdowns, which is sometimes a benefit of getting there early and being able to get on before there's any issues after they've had the night to maintain it. I still think it's the best ride in the parks at this point in time. It's super immersive, and you really don't know a lot of the time what's going to go on from one section to the next. They definitely keep you guessing.
I would agree with that. There's certain things that an attraction needs in order to, I don't know, I guess you could say be successful. And Rise of the Resistance seems to have just about all of them. First and foremost, the technology is above and beyond anything else I've ever seen in a theme park. And they do things that you don't think can be done. You know what I mean? They make you believe that whatever's happening, I'm not going to spoil it for folks that haven't been on the attraction, but whatever you're seeing in front of you, your mind is like, that's got to be real, because there's no way you could fake that. I mean, it's believable. The technology is that good. It's got to be thrilling. It's got to be something that gets your blood pumping. And there are that is definitely happening in Rise of the Resistance. There's times when you're going pretty fast, speeding around a corner or whatever. You don't know what's going to be popping out in front of you or whatever. Almost like a classic dark ride. You have some of that kind of haunted mansion where the ghost pops up from behind the gravestone. You know, you've got some kind of scary elements like, oh my gosh, you know, it surprises you. You know, things like that. And I think that's what's really fantastic about this attraction is that it does have all of that stuff. It's got thrills, it's got spooky dark ride stuff, it's got the technology. Like, I mean, it literally has everything. Oh, and by the way, it also is from the greatest movie franchise in human history. You know, I mean, it just really has everything that a theme park guest could want, and it's also Star Wars. So I mean, it's just fantastic, just absolutely fantastic.
To plan what we both just said is not too many spoilers on this. So I'll talk about some of the more popular parts of the ride, the attraction that you know everyone's seen. Like you, at one point, you walk into the hangar and you see several rows of First Order stormtroopers there, and it's not just stormtroopers standing there; that they actually move a bit. And so when you walk in, it's like, oh my gosh, they're moving and they're people. There's that moment of are they all real people there? Is this audio animatronics? Then you turn to your right and you see a big TIE fighter just sitting there in the wall, like you would see in The Force Awakens, of how it's docked right there in the hangar bay. Other situation, other place, whenever you come and you go into the one, I guess it's a storage place, hangar, whatever, on whenever you're trying to escape from the first order. I think everyone knows that general idea of the attraction. Did you see the AT-ATs? They're you go and you look up and up and up, and you're standing underneath these AT-ATs, and there's several of them there. And I would just like to if the ride would happen to break down, being in that spot, just be able to look and study the detail and see it all. That would be this place that I would want to just spend a few minutes. That just area, just like, oh my God, this like you were saying before, this is what I dreamed of as a kid. The Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie, and it's because of the walkers and the beginning scenes on Hoth. Seeing that, it's like, oh my God, type thing. So, but go ahead, Dewey. Sorry I cut you off.
Oh, not at all. First of all, I just want to commend you for saying AT-AT. Only lunatics say AT-AT. Second, sorry. Second, being an old school Disney guy, my first trip, I was 11 years old, and I can remember being in awe of going and sitting in the Hall of Presidents and thinking that they were statues. But then, I remember distinctly as a child seeing the Ronald Reagan figure, and he was sitting in a chair and he had his legs crossed and he was tapping his toe. Like just a very minor detail, but his toe was tapping. And that's exactly what you're talking about with the stormtroopers. That big reveal when the door opens and you're on the First Order Star Destroyer, and you see all those rows and you're like, hey, cool, look at all those stormtrooper statues. Wait a minute, they're moving. You have that moment of that realization where they're not statues. It just sucks you in. It just makes it a little more believable because they very slightly turn their head and maybe even turn their head like they're focusing their attention on you, because you just walked into the hangar of this Star Destroyer and they're like, oh, and they look at you. That's just that minor detail that just sends it over the top. It's really, really good. And then also you said that about the AT-ATs. The scale of this attraction is unbelievable. When you're standing outside, when you're about to get into the queue for Rise of the Resistance, you don't see a giant building that, it's got to be, I don't know, 4 or 5 stories tall to house what's inside this attraction. The scale of the AT-ATs, the way Disney hides the buildings behind the mountains and all that stuff, unbelievable. Because the scale of the attraction, once you're inside it, I mean, you get the sense that you are traveling on multiple levels of this gigantic Star Destroyer. So again, amazing technical and practical effects. So really, really, really great.
Yeah, they're really good at hiding the buildings, especially Cosmic Rewind and Epcot. Are you listening? So, but that's for another episode.
You've heard me complain about that on my show so many times. Oh, that's clever. I see what you did there.
But in with the Rise of the Resistance, with the special effects, there are some that the first time you're on it, it's like, how did they do that? And then if you ride it again, you see, oh, that's what they did. That's really cool. But then there's other effects of it's still, oh my God, how did they do that? And you just want to ride it again. Just it's like a magic trick. Do it again. Let me see that sleight of hand thing
Yes.
to see how you did this trick.
Yes.
But it's definitely worth going, even if you are not a Star Wars fan. Just the immersive experience and the surprises and just it's as you guys said, it is good storytelling. It's probably storytelling at its best on an attraction. And it's 18 minutes long. So you get your money's worth if you're waiting in line for that long too. Any other final comments on Rise of the Resistance?
I just yes, I love your analogy that it's like a magic trick because there's still I've been on it. I think I've been on that maybe 4 times now. And there is a few things that it's still just I have no idea how they do it. I really don't. And obviously I'm not an engineer or an Imagineer or anything, but I mean it's so well done. Like you leave wondering how did they pull that off? So yes, it is probably the best attraction at Walt Disney World. I haven't been on Tron yet, but besides that, I've been on every single other attraction, and it's probably the best one. It's amazing.
Actually, with what Matt said about the length of the ride, I think that in and of itself for Wait versus Rise versus Tron makes it so much more worthwhile to make the wait on the Rise.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't realize it was 18 minutes. That's hefty. I mean, you're in Universe of Energy almost right there, I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah, I also do a little newsletter that I put out each week, and this week's is on Galaxy's Edge. So I did a little more research looking up all this stuff to add into it. So moving on to Millennium Falcon, the Smuggler's Run. So you actually the queue for this one is pretty neat. You get to go see in some of the stuff in the line of different spaceships and different little things on spread around, and then seeing probably one of the best audio animatronics that Disney has made. What's the guy's name? I'm drawing a blank. Hondo, thank you. Whenever you walk through, he looks like he's a real person moving. For those who are fans of the great movie ride, The Wicked Witch of the West, that it's on that level of motion and detail. Although the new ones for Tiana's Bayou Adventure looked to be pretty fantastic too. They just I saw a YouTube video that Disney released showing some of what's going to be coming. But probably the best thing about this queue is you get to go into the lounge of the Millennium Falcon. And whenever you come up, you're waiting in line, you're going through this little hallway. It's like, okay, well, we've been waiting for however long. And then you walk through this little doorway. It's like stunned silence of you get to see the little holo chessboard. You can actually sit in that little booth there. Walk down the little hallway into where the cockpit is. And just that in and of itself, I think is worth waiting in line. Just to get your picture there and to go through that, and to be on the Millennium Falcon, which, like I said before, growing up, that was one of the dreams of, gosh, I want to be Han Solo and I want to be on that. So, what are your guys' impression of either the queue, the ride? What do you want to talk about, Justin?
I think you made a really good point with talk about getting to where the Holo Chest room is. Like, I sort of miss how the queue was with that a little bit from towards the beginning of the ride, before everything shut down, because you could just roam in that room, and there was so much to see. The porg nest and all these little details, and they'd have I don't think they do it anymore, but there was an alarm that would randomly go off at points in time, and there was a button you had to run over and hit to get the alarm to turn off, and things like that. That unfortunately you don't get to do quite as much. You can still pop over and grab a photo here or there, things like that, but it was a little bit more of a free roaming room um, previously, and now it's done more of a traditional queue line. So I missed that part of it, but uh, it's I think for a lot of people, besides being able to walk up and see the Falcon from the outside, hitting that room uh, has some of the biggest emotions for people. I've seen a handful of tears definitely shed by people once they get to that room and they see that they can sit down at the holochess table and things like that. It's something to see for sure.
So Matt, I wanted to touch on you talked about the Hondo figure. When's the last time you've been there? Have you guys, so I was there in June of 23. Have you guys been on it since then?
No.
No.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, no November.
Was
Um
was Hondo there?
he was covered.
Okay.
They just used the screens at that point.
See, same thing. I was there in June of 23 and there was no Hondo. And I was, because I had family members there with me that had not been at Galaxy's Edge at all yet. So I was really talking it up. I was like, wait till you see Hondo. And then he wasn't there. And so I was really disappointed in that. And now I'm even more disappointed to find out, Justin, you said November. So we're talking June to November. That's basically half a year and still not there. So I don't know if Hondo is broken or what the deal is. That's a little worrisome to me. Why you would have unless they're replacing it with an original trilogy character, then I'm on board, because that I want to talk about that in a minute about this ride. But I was upset when Hondo was not there in June, and now Justin, you're saying he wasn't there in November. That's a little worrisome to me, to be honest.
Yeah. I went a little bit later in the day, and so part of me wonders if it's one of those that it's one of the like B-reel versions, like they'll have that secondary version of an experience so that they don't have to shut down. I don't know if it's something like that he is operational for a part of the day, but eventually something goes wrong, and instead of shutting the ride down for the day, they're just like, okay, we're gonna go with the alternate and keep the queue moving.
Okay.
Um, I I haven't seen anything to be able to confirm that that definitely is what they're doing. But I know that they do that with some of the other rides. So I'm sort of hopeful if it isn't, like you said, that they're actually going to bring someone else in, that they're at least trying to continue to keep them operational, at least some, to give the people the experience, because it's a super impressive animatronic. It's something to see.
I hope you're right. And I hadn't considered that, but I was there. It was later in the day as well, probably 6 or so in the evening. So maybe you're right. Maybe the figure has a mishap or whatever. So they cover it, move it, whatever they do, and they still let people ride the ride. So that's very smart. That's a good possibility. So I'm glad you said that. You put my mind at ease a little bit. So hopefully that was the case. Because you're right, that figure, that animatronic, I mean, I guess that's the good thing about dealing with aliens is it's hard to make a human look human. I mean, they got to really work hard to make even like the characters on Pirates, they don't look human. They look like characters
Hmm.
of humans. You know what I mean? Like their features are exaggerated and stuff like that. So it's like if you tried to put that's why Ray is a hologram and not a figure, an animatronic figure. It's also cheaper, but it's harder to make humans look, especially if you're making an animatronic of a real human. You're trying to make it look like someone. So there's the benefit of that of doing Hondo because he looks exactly like Hondo, from if you're watching Rebels or whatever. He looks exactly like because he's an alien. You can make an alien look like an alien in a fake figure. So I hope you're right, Justin. I hope you're right that it was just he got tired for working all day and he was on a union break or something. Maybe that's what the case was. I hope that's the case.
Although I feel your disappointment because every time I ride Expedition Everest, so Dewey, talk to your father-in-law, the Yeti that they just flash the light on, I've never seen in its full glory with all that
Hmm.
movement.
So,
So,
Matt, he is now referred to as Disco Yeti because of the strobe lights. And so I did see, not to get off topic, I have seen Moving Yeti, and I doubt we'll ever see Moving Yeti again. Disco
yeah.
Yeti is what we got.
So, the actual ride experience for Smuggler's Run, there are two pilots, there's two gunners, two engineers. One pilot goes up and down, the other one controls left and right. I've done all three of the jobs. Other than pulling the little lever to go in hyperspace, which again, another dream come true, I was somewhat underwhelmed by it. It's like a video cartoonish video game that it's worth the experience going through and some of the elements of it of you moving around and there's some other surprises of how the um ride vehicle actually moves that'll catch you off guard that is pretty neat. Um but it was just okay. I mean it's not one I'm gonna it's not on the level of Rise of the Resistance. Gentlemen, I don't know if you had similar thoughts.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's definitely nowhere near Rise as far as ride experience goes. Um, I definitely enjoyed it. It is super simple for the video game element for breaking down the parts of the ride. Uh, it does become a little bit more interesting when you toss a 6-year-old behind the wheel. Uh, uh, I did that this most recent trip, my son's first time getting to ride Smuggler's Run. I put him with the lever for light speed and everything, and he enjoyed himself. And I think that to a point, that's sometimes where the repeatability for that ride comes in at this point, is that if you have a family being able to do the different things and see what you enjoy. It is cool that it does tie in with the uh, app so that you can see your influence in the Galaxy's Edge section. Um, but the I think probably one of the biggest disappointments for that one for me at this point is I know that there were supposed to be 3 different ride experiences at least that they had initially planned, and we're very shortly coming up on 5 years for both locations, and they haven't brought either of the other two experiences in. And I would hope that sometime soon, maybe for the anniversary, that they'll start to rotate more of those in. I think that's what sort of keeps Star Tours interesting as they bring in those different storylines. So I'm hopeful that maybe we'll see those other storylines here soon, even though they haven't mentioned them in a while. because I think that will keep interest up, even though, again, the elements of the actual play within the ride are going to be simple. Having those other experiences will keep the interest.
And
That's
Justin, you said about your
100%. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Justin, you real quick, you said about your 6-year-old flying the Millennium Falcon. Whenever my wife flew it, she said she was intensely trying to crash it. So you can experience imagine the experience we had on it. So it would bump your ride. So, but good, Dewey. I don't want to interrupt you.
That does make it more interesting. The first time I rode it, I was one of the pilots, and my father-in-law was one of the other pilots, and I was like, man, I was serious. We're going to get this mission done. You know what I mean? And that was fun. And then I've done it in the back where I think I was the gunner before and everything, and that was fun. You know, the first time you do a new station is fun. And then from that point on, you got to do something to make it interesting. So, like trying to crash on purpose or whatever. It was not a child I knew, but I have been on it when a child was at the wheel, and that freaking, it shakes, it jumps, and like the whole cockpit just vibrates because the kid was hitting everything, right? So that was also a different experience. So listen, I mean, honestly, is it a bad ride? No, it's very entertaining. The payoff for this attraction is the cargo hold with the chest, the hollow chest, and all that stuff. That's the payoff of this attraction. And then the first time sitting in the cockpit is the payoff for the attraction. The actual ride itself is just pretty good. It's not fantastic. It's, if we were talking about the old days when you had a e-ticket attraction, you know, I don't think you put Smuggler's Run doesn't get an e-ticket. It's maybe a D, maybe even a C. I don't know. It's not terrible, but it's not amazing either. It's fun. It's fun. And Justin, you're 100% correct. The whole attraction is you're sitting in the cockpit, and in front of you is screens. So throw some new missions in there or something. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, it can't be that hard. They do it for Star Tours, like you said. They just added Ahsoka to Star Tours, you know, and you can see the difference in when Star Tours will have a 15-minute line or whatever for years, and then they throw in a new character, and now it's an hour wait again, you know. You can breathe new life into this attraction, and it's not that expensive when you compare it to building a new attraction. Just throwing a new movie in there is not that expensive. Disney really needs to start focusing on that again. Back in the day, nothing was ever stagnant at Disney, you know, and they really slacked off in the last, you know, probably decade and a half. They've really slacked off on that. They could revitalize this attraction with, like you said, Justin, with some new adventures for sure. I'd love to see that. And that's where you could come in with some of the original trilogy stuff, and hear some, I don't know, Obi-Wan Kenobi, in your ear or something. I don't know, but you could make it really cool. Imagine you're sitting in the cockpit and you're flying by Cloud City or something, or you're flying by a Star Destroyer or whatever. I mean, it could be really amazing, but they need to do something like that. And it could be different every time you ride. I wouldn't be mad if I, rode it and got the Hondo version, but then the next time I ride it, I get the Cloud City version or whatever, just like Star Tours. It's a little different each time you ride it, and that's fun. They could do that for sure.
Yeah. With thinking about some variants on it, have you guys, or either of you guys, done the Wookiee mode?
I've read about it. I have not seen it or done it. No.
Yeah, same here. I don't never have enough people. I tend to be just the four of us a lot of times, and I've never done it. That I've had enough hands to cooperate to try to pull off the button combination you need to do to
Yes.
get that to work.
So, any other comments on the attractions before we move on?
I think we covered it.
Okay. We interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast with this important update. So the podcast went a bit longer than we expected. Well, three nerdy guys talking about Star Wars. So what'd you expect, right? So we're going to split it into two parts. So we're going to end this part right now after we give a little bit of a farewell. And then we'll pick up again next week with the rest of what we were talking about with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But before we do that, I want to leave you with a travel tip that we hit on it a bit in this episode and before, and you'll hear more about it in the second part of this episode, is that whenever you are on vacation, whether it's at Walt Disney World or anywhere else, remember to have fun. So it's good to have a plan. We want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do the other thing. So have your plan for what you want to do. You know, have an idea of, okay, here's the things we want to hit on, we want to visit here, whatever, but be flexible. And if you decide, okay, this is no longer fun for us, change your plans. So have a plan for your vacation, but be flexible if things aren't going the way you want them to. And if you're not enjoying it, change so that you are enjoying it. Because that's the ultimate purpose of vacation, right? To have some fun and do something you wouldn't normally do. We're gonna wrap it up now. Justin, how can people get a hold of you?
Best way to catch me on socials is to go directly to my Linktree, linktr.ee/vacationwithJustin. And my email is justin@dreamsbydesign.travel.
And Dewey?
So as Matt mentioned earlier, I'm one of the co-hosts of the WDW Reflections podcast. So if you are a Disney fanatic, which kind of like it would appear that we are, not just Star Wars fanatics, but also Disney fanatics, if you'd like to give a Disney podcast about reflecting on the Disney World of old and how those connect to the Disney World that we have today, then I would love it if you came over and had a listen to the WDW Reflections podcast. You can find us. We're on basically every streaming service there is: Apple, Spotify, Google, we're in all of them. We have a YouTube, WDW Reflections Podcast. We have a website, wdwreflectionspodcast.com. So any of those things, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on TikTok at WDW Reflections Podcast. So give a listen, give a like, and give us some feedback. Come holler at us and tell us if there's some shows you'd like to see, some topics, that kind of stuff. We are all about Walt Disney World, so we'd love for you to join us.
I have to go back and find the episode that I was on 2 episodes of Dewey's podcast too, so it's like return favor on it. Very entertaining. I have the latest episode downloaded. I still have to find time to listen to it. As Justin mentioned, that his grass cutting stuff, the podcasts are what I listen to whenever I cut my lawn. So,
and we appreciate your support, Matt, very much.
Yeah, and that's coming up tomorrow. They'll have to cut the grass probably. So, you can reach me at Matt with DBD on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Email is Matt, MATT, at dreamsbydesigntravel.com. The website for our company is dreamsbydesigntravel.com. So if you like help planning your next trip, let us know. Whether you know exactly what you want or you have no clue what you want, come to us. We can still help you out. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. We've gone over an hour and a half now, so I might be able to split this into 2 episodes. I'm not sure. So, but wonderful. Listeners, thank you very much. Give feedback for us, and then we're gonna head out in that. So we'll see you later.